Thank you very much, Tim. And the following presentation, the presentation that I'll be giving will be all about gas to power generation in Botswana with a few add-ons as well. Next slide, please. And next. So Tlou Energy, we've been developing and delineating a very large gas field in Botswana for many years now. And of course, getting the approvals process all completed takes a long time anywhere, but Africa is no exception. And we're at the stage now where we've gotten all key approvals achieved to not only continue to drill out the field, develop the development wells, collect the gas, put it into a power station, and turn it to electricity. That has culminated in an initial 10 megawatt power purchase agreement with Botswana Power Corporation. The government owned a power utility there. We are the first ones to actually get an independent power project up with Botswana Power Corp, and we view that as a major achievement. And the next step of the project is really to convert our gas to electricity and to deliver into that contract. Next slide, please. So our process flow, the primary objective is to convert our gas into electricity and sell it into the existing grid at a nearby town called SAIRO. And with that objective, we're currently building a transmission line, which is fully funded by our largest shareholder being the Botswana Public Officers Pension Fund, a local pension fund, also the largest investor in Botswana. We have add-ons of solar because it makes sense in the Botswana region that we're based. It has a very high solar incidence and works perfectly with a gas-fired power to deliver ultimately 24/7 cleaner energy into the grid. We also have a prototype developing for a plasma pyrolysis unit, and that will take our gas directly, our methane gas, and split it off into hydrogen and solid carbon. Next slide, please. Our company is triple listed. We started out on the Australian Stock Exchange, migrated to London when resources weren't that in vogue here a number of years back, and we're about 50-50 between those two exchanges, the UK and Australia. And we're also on the Botswana Stock Exchange because that allowed investment by local institutions and culminated in the pension fund taking a significant stake in us. About 600 million shares on issue. Thank you. Our board, extensive experience. Myself, I've been the founder of a number of public companies, always starting them from the grassroots, from vacant acreage, and then developing the resource up to the point of sale. And that is the objective, and that's where we're progressing with Tlou Energy as well. Next slide. We clearly have an experienced field operations team as well, largely based in Botswana. We own our project 100%. We drill all our own wells, and we like to have full control of drilling our wells because that helps us keep in control of the costs as well. And that picture is our field base on the edge of the Kalahari Desert, showing some of our equipment that we use in our drilling operation. Next slide. So the actual location, the map shows where we're based. We are to the north of the capital city of Gaborone, and essentially in the middle of Botswana. It's actually quite easy to get to, though, only about 3 hours drive from the capital city. The capital city's less than an hour from Joburg to fly. The country has an extensive and modern electricity grid, and we're looking at joining that grid with a transmission line in the dotted purple on that map. The objective is to get into the grid at SAIRO, and then the initial power contract will be with Botswana Power Corporation, and then we can expand, all else being equal, up to the Arapa Diamond Mine. The Arapa Diamond Mine, the largest diamond mine in the world, produces several $1 billion of diamonds a year, and it goes through about 90 megawatts of diesel a year. So that's a very big opportunity to convert that diesel to our gas with time. Next slide. So it's all about addressing the power deficits in the region with newer sources of cleaner energy, and that's our focus, Tim. And our energy will indeed displace the very carbon-intensive coal-fired power station. There's a picture of the main one there with the 2 smokestacks. It'll assist in displacing and replacing that ultimately, and also displacing the $1 billion US of diesel that is burnt in the country, just in Botswana, to keep the lights on every year. Next slide. So our Lesedi Gas to Power project is our flagship project. We have all approvals in place, including a generation license and an initial power purchase agreement with Botswana Power Corporation. The ongoing exercise, the operation in the field right as we speak, is building the grid connection via the transmission line from Lesedi, the approximate 100 kilometres, to the nearby town of SAIRO, and that is progressing and is more or less on track for completion at the middle of next year, and that keeps us on track for the objective of first revenue towards the end of next year. We have a planned drilling program to delineate and flow more gas as we're building up to that grid connection and being able to effectively commercialise any new gas flow, rather than simply flaring it, which we're currently doing. Next slide. We extract our gas by simple horizontal or lateral drilling techniques on the left there, and on the right, we are developing our first power plant in a modular design, starting out in 1 megawatt units, and that is to reduce risk and capex as we grow in this very important phase of our development. Next slide. We have independently certified gas reserves. Next slide. The aforementioned SAIRO substation on the left, where we'll be joining into the existing power grid, and on the right, it gives you an idea of what the countryside's like, where we're currently drilling and flaring gas. Next slide. The objective is to mix some solar in with our gas-fired power, because gas is an ideal fuel to support renewables, particularly solar, and thereby we can make a 24/7 cleaner product than would otherwise be the case. And we have a solar generation license in place, which is something that is an achievement as well in Botswana, given the approvals regime that we all have to work under. It's very cumbersome, to say the least, but we've achieved that as well. Next slide. We have a prototype being built in Brisbane with our hydrogen partners, Synergen Met. Now, the unique aspect of this hydrogen project is they've already done it in an initial prototype in Brisbane. Now we're converting that technology to take our gas, our CH4, and directly split it to hydrogen and solid carbon. The hydrogen will be initially fed back into our power plant, and then will ultimately be used for cleaner fuel, assuming the prototype all goes according to plan, and that's why one builds a prototype, of course. And the solid carbon, there is a market for that in South Africa that we've currently already delineated. Next slide. We support a number of local community initiatives, and that's part of our approach in Botswana, to be a part of the local community and to support wherever we can. Next slide. So in summary, we're developing the Lesedi Gas to Power project. Gas is now good again. Gas is an excellent fuel to deliver instant power, to deliver air conditioning or heat, depending on what's required as far as temperature amelioration. We have a couple of other projects as well, which are developing in the background, not as high a priority as the gas to power, of course, and that's our solar and hydrogen and solid carbon projects. We have extensive approvals in place and a very supportive local community and government as we're moving to get this project into first revenue. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Bang on time. Fascinating story, actually. Now, Botswana has been heavily reliant on South Africa for its energy previously. So how do you see that kind of South African instability playing into your hands?
Thank you, Tim. Yes, indeed. South Africa is very insecure in its power supply at the moment, and most third-party evaluations suggest that it's just on the brink of collapse. And it is a major need for both internally within their country and the surrounding countries to develop more power projects. Now, coal is still not in vogue as opposed to gas. Gas, of course, can produce not only base load, but peaking power. We can turn it on and off. So it's a beautiful fuel to have available for energy generation. And ultimately, once we've satisfied the Botswana power needs, we would love to be able to export into neighbouring countries, including South Africa, and all that's doable via the Southern African Power Pool. And all the countries in the Southern African Power Pool, a region of some 500 million people rather, they're all connected via the Southern African Power Pool.
And what's the political environment like in Botswana? I mean, you've got an aligned shareholder there. Is there any risk in that? I'm sure you get asked that question.
And what do you mean by that, Tim? Sorry.
Oh, just what's the political environment like there currently? We don't know a lot about it, so can you give us some more colour there?
Well, certainly. Botswana is a very stable democracy. It's been independent since the mid-60s. It's a former protectorate of England, of Britain, and therefore it has inherited all English laws and regulations and a Westminster style of parliament. So there's been free and fair elections from day one, and always a smooth transition of power. The government and the people of Botswana have been very lucky in having the diamonds to develop and to help fund infrastructure, etc. But they won't last forever, and they are seeking very supportive of new industries, including mining and gas development, to assist the country to grow and to prosper.
Thanks, Tony. And there's a question here, what is the potential to increase your flow rates, and what's the plan to do that?
Yes, indeed. We've learned a lot of lessons as we've developed our field at Lesedi over the years. And what we've found is that with additional lateral wells, we should be able to increase the flow rate. And just recently, with all of our geotechnical evaluation over the previous period, we've determined that there's only a fraction of the wellbore probably open to flowing at the moment. So if we tweak and modify our new wells such that we're getting a significant amount more of that wellbore open and flowing, that our gas flow rate should commensurately increase. And with all of these sorts of projects, the flow rate goes straight to your bottom line. So that will be the objective early next year when we get drilling again, to increase the flow rate and to get more gas flowing, and that should flow straight to the ultimate bottom line, Tim.
And Tony, just finally, what sort of capex are we talking, and can you give us some guidelines around time frames?
Well, for the transmission line, it's about $5 million to connect to the grid, plus there's some ancillary equipment and costs that go with that. The thing about our drilling, we can drill wells cheaper than I've been involved with in Australia. The Australian costs, and we have colleagues over here in Australia drilling wells in Queensland. We're using a similar technique. The Queensland wells are somewhere between 3 and 5 times the cost of an equivalent well in Botswana. And effectively, that means we can get a full development pod comprising a vertical well and 2 lateral wells down for about $1.5 million. So that's a very, very good price. And the more we drill, the more efficient we're getting at it.
Tony, that's all we have time for. Thank you for your time. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Tim.